Hey everyone, I'm going to try to make this quick, but this is the interaction of Thor and Uthgardr Loki in these sagas. I will post at the end of the sagas I use so you can write them down and get them for yourself. So, in this saga, it is Thor, Loki, Thjalfi, and Roskva. Thjalfi and Roskva are Thor's slaves that he gets from a farmer. After Thjalfi breaks one of the legs of the goat while they're eating it, Thor brings it back, and it is lame after Thor told them not to break the bones. We'll get into that at a different time. Now, when Thor gets to Jotunheim with his slaves and Loki, they end up staying in a hall due to some rough weather, and they end up staying in one of the side halls due to some of the earthquakes and some of the things that are happening, and Thor stays guarding for the night. In the morning, they find a man sleeping on the ground, a very, very, very large man. And when Thor goes to hit him in the head with the hammer, Skirmir, that's his name, wakes up and introduces himself and goes, "Oh, you found my glove," and actually pulls up the hall that they were sleeping in and puts it on his hand. That shows just how big of a man this was, that Thor, Loki, and Thjalfi and Roskva could stay the night inside his glove. Now they each eat breakfast in separate groups, and Skirmir says that since we're traveling in the same direction, we might as well go ahead and combine our resources. So they put all their stuff in Skirmir's bag and head on their way. Now, when they get to the first stopping point, Skirmir says, "I'm just going to go to bed, but feel free to eat some food and do what you're going to do." Unable to open up Skirmir's bag with all of his strength, Thor gets angry and goes to hit the sleeping Skirmir in the head with his hammer. In this, Skirmir kind of sits up a little bit and goes, "Oh man, did a leaf fall on my head?" And Thor goes, No, we're about to go to bed. Just go to sleep." A little while later, after Skirmir falls asleep, Thor attempts to hit him again with the hammer, this time harder, and Skirmir kind of sits up and goes, "Oh, did a branch fall on my head? Is there a strong wind? What's going on?" And Thor goes, No. I just woke up. It's still plenty dark. Let's just go back to sleep." And then Skirmir falls asleep once again, and Thor takes his hammer this third time, even angrier than before, and swings with all of his might, and this time it actually goes deep into the handle of Thor's hammer. That's how hard he hits him. He goes into his head. Skirmir again wakes up and goes, "I think I pissed off some birds or something because they keep dropping stuff on my head, but it's starting to get light out, so I think we should take off." Skirmir ends up taking out Thor and Loki's and the group's possessions from his bag and goes, "I'm heading north, but you guys are heading east, so I think we should split off here. But I'm going to warn you, if you think I'm big, you should wait till you get to Uthgardr. This place is very, very big giants, and they're very impatient with small people, so be best not to test them when you get there. When they get there, the place is so large that they all have to look back as high as they can, just to be able to see the tops of the buildings. When they get to the gates, they're unable to open them, and so Thor and the group have to slide their way through the grates to be able to get in there. Once they get into the main hall, they find a couple benches with a bunch of people lined up across them. These people are massive. They are gigantic. They're giants. And then they go and introduce themselves to the king, Uthgardr Loki, and Uthgardr Loki says that no one's allowed to stay in my hall without playing some games. And so Loki, being who he is, volunteers himself first and says that he's the fastest eater in existence, and he can out-eat anyone that Uthgardr Loki could put in front of him. And so Uthgardr Loki sits him down in front of a trough with a man named Loki, and they both start eating from one end of the trough and moving their way closer and closer and closer together. Loki ends up getting there at the same time as Loki in the middle. However, Loki also eats the trough and the bones and the plates and everything else that's on the table, so Loki is officially the winner because he ate more than Loki did. Next, Thjalfi says that he is the fastest person and that nobody can beat him in speed. And so, in that process, Uthgardr Loki sets him up against, I'm looking at my notes to get the name. The second one, he sets him up against Hugi. That's his name, Hugi. He sets him up against Hugi in a foot race. And in the first attempt, Hugi beats Thjalfi by a good distance, so much so that Hugi can turn around at the finish line to look at Hugi come to the finish. In the second attempt, Thjalfi finishes by a longbow shot. So basically the amount of distance a longbow can shoot, that's how much Hugi beats Thjalfi by in the race. Just to try to save his honor, they go for a third race, and Thjalfi loses by so much that he hasn't even reached the midpoint of the foot race before Hugi finishes. And so they call it, and everyone agrees that Hugi won that race. Now, living up to Thor's name, Uthgardr Loki says he expects a lot from him being an Aesir, going against whatever challenges he sets him up against. So Thor first says that he would like to set up for a drinking test. Being a man of Thor's stature, he's a very good drinker. So they set him up with what appears to be a small but very long drinking horn. And Uthgardr Loki says that all of the men who drink with Uthgardr Loki are able to finish it in just one drink. And then all of the men who are okay drinkers and just okay at it can finish it in 2 drinks. But no man is such a poor drinker that he can't finish it in 3. So Thor, being who he is, gets super excited and just starts drinking as much as he can. And he's drinking as until he gets to the point where he doesn't feel he can drink anymore. But when he brings the horn down, he notices that only just a little bit has gone from the top. Uthgardr Loki, a little bit embarrassed, says, "It's okay, go for your second drink." So Thor, again, holds the drink back as high as he can. It starts pounding the booze down, and it gets to the point where he just drinks until he can't breathe anymore. He brings it down, and the horn had only been lowered so much that it's basically to the point where you wouldn't spill it by walking anymore. Embarrassed and angry, Thor takes a third and largest drink of them all, and just drinks as much as he possibly can, but then when he looks back down into the horn, it doesn't even really look like it's been moved much. Uthgardr Loki, trying to save Thor's embarrassment, goes, "Okay, let's try a next test, let's see what you can do." And Thor goes, "Well, I'm the strongest Aesir of all the gods, so let's see what I can do for strength." And Uthgardr Loki goes, "Okay, well, everything here's pretty big and pretty heavy, but you can try and lift my cat." And a large great cat jumped down off Thjalfi's lap. Not Thjalfi, sorry, Uthgardr Loki's lap. And Thor gets up underneath it and tries to push up as hard as he can, as high as he can, and he is embarrassed once again and is unable to lift the cat off the ground, but he does get one paw off the ground. He, angry than ever before, says he demands a third challenge. And Uthgardr Loki goes, "Okay, well, what do you want to do this time?" And Thor says he will wrestle anyone in the hall. And Uthgardr Loki says, "Okay, well, everyone here is too large for you to wrestle, so how about my grandma Ellie?" And an old, gray, kind of decrepit-looking woman comes out, and Thor and her start wrestling. And the entire time, Thor is only brought down to one of his knees once. And he is able to hold off, but eventually taps. And throughout the rest of the night, they recognize everyone as being friends and good, and they drink and have a good time. The next morning, as Uthgardr Loki is escorting them out of the hall, he admits to the group that he had been tricking them and that he used magic. He actually was Skirmir from the first night, and that he'd been using magic to trick them. At first, it was with Thor's hammers. Each time that Thor swung a hammer swing down on him, he moved one of the nearby mountains in their way. And now that's why all the mountains have a very flat top right now, a lot lower than they were. And that actually scared Skirmir to try and divert the group away from Uthgard. Once he got there, Loki actually was wildfire itself, and Loki wasn't able to beat him because nothing can devour like wildfire. And Thjalfi raced against Hugi, which is thought. He was racing against Uthgardr Loki's thoughts, and obviously nothing is faster than a thought. Finally, when it comes to Thor, the first drink, the horn, was actually connected to the sea. And that is, now he drank so much, and he was actually starting to scare Uthgardr Loki that he was going to drink the horn anyway. But he drank so much that now that is why we have riptides, and why we have tides in general, from in and out, because he drank so much. The second challenge, the cat, was actually the Midgard serpent. And it makes sense that that Thor was unable to lift him because of how large the serpent is, but he did, again, surprise Uthgardr Loki by being able to lift one paw off the ground, which means he was able to lift the serpent a bit. The third one was the wrestling match, and Ellie was actually old age and time. And as we know with Idun and her apples, the gods do age unless they are given the apples to do so, so not even the gods can defeat death. But it is impressive that he was only brought down to one knee once. Angry, Thor turns around to go swing his hammer at Uthgardr Loki again, but his hall, all of the town, and all of the people had disappeared. That is my assessment, and that is the tale of Thor against Uthgardr Loki. I'm happy to answer any questions in the chat you guys might have. Feel free to message me or anything like that. and go ahead and take a look here for some of the sources I used.